Welcome to the Mind Body Couple podcast.
I'm Tanner Murtaugh.
And I'm Ann Hampson.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you unlearn chronic pain and symptoms.
If you need support with your healing, you can book in for a consultation with one of our therapists at painpsychotherapy.ca.
Or purchase our online course at embodycommunity.com to access in-depth education, somatic practices, recovery tools, and an interactive community focused on healing. Links in the description of each episode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
Why do you say it like that?
Well, it's Friday night when we're recording this thing.
Yeah, we record random times sometimes.
You would think that we put in our schedule of we do this every week.
Yeah, we don't have a set podcast recording time.
We did this time, but Anne decided she had to get her hair done.
Hey, that's important, and I think people would agree with me.
It looks nice.
Yeah, thanks.
It's not dark green. I want the dark green still.
I think many people probably just cringed hearing dark green.
No. People are voting for me right now. They're like, I want Anne's hair to be dark green. No? No. You've gone dark purple.
I have, yep.
For reference, dark green and dark purple are my favorite colors. So... This is all about me, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in.
Okay.
The topic today, what I do every day to regulate my nervous system and maintain my healing from chronic pain.
I laugh at this because I feel like from your intro, maybe you need to do a bit more of these things, Tanner. You seem a little
scattered?
A little scattered right now. Maybe not as regulated by 4 p.m. on a Friday.
I'm in a good place right now. I got that goofy energy going on.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I misread it.
Yeah. It's a goofy. I know they're confusing because there's a scattered, sympathetic fight or flight Tanner.
Yep.
And then there's the dawdling, goofy Tanner.
It's hard for me to tell what's what sometimes for you, Tanner.
Same here.
Oh.
Okay, so I thought this was interesting. I get a lot of comments about this. Of what do you do? What do you specifically do? And now, I want to preface this. In my experience watching people trying to heal, this pattern will happen where people will have the symptom. Mm-hmm. It's awful. They're like, I need this to go away, which makes sense. I've been there.
Yeah.
They come to this approach. And then, hopefully not too intensely, they dive in and they start using everything. And for a lot of people, they start to see success. Mm-hmm. We've seen this with the clients we work with, and even in our course, people are starting to see success.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that, Alan Gordon, the creator of pain reprocessing therapy, talks about, is we're really motivated. When we have pain or physical symptoms, it's a great motivator. We're like, I need this to go away.
Right.
And so we're willing to do things that maybe we weren't necessarily willing to do before. Myself included. Like, if I had gone on my not-so-merry way being a perfectionist, I would have drove that the whole way home.
You still try to drive that
I do, a little bit. And I have, but I know, there's a limit.
Yeah.
And it's made me change things that maybe I wouldn't have changed. They're very good for me. There's a lot of benefit to it. But then people get better. Mm-hmm. And then they stop doing things.
Well, and it's an interesting point, Tanner. It's just it's this idea, I guess, that pain makes us want to change both emotionally and physically.
Yes.
And that's common for any kind of change, I think. Even if we're not talking about mind and body, things kind of have to get bad enough for us to make changes a lot of the time. But we can forget. We can forget how we got there, or we can forget kind of how to keep that change rolling.
Totally. And, we talk about, the big 5 that we focus on, changing thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah.
Brain retraining, exposure.
Yes.
Processing of emotions, nervous system regulation, trauma processing, and creating social safety.
Yeah.
And, people will be very motivated, and I'm speaking generally. So if you're listening to this and you're like, Tanner, I maintain my healing, I get it. But for myself, I've slipped back many times. I've seen people slip back, and then they have a new symptom come up.
Yeah.
3 months later, 6 months later, and then they snap back to doing everything. And so I'm trying to save people a lot of pain.
Learn from Tanner kind of idea.
That I've played that out and it doesn't go well. And so when we were planning out this podcast, we just talked about how important it is to have some type of practices that you're doing consistently that's going to maintain your healing and it's going to maintain nervous system regulation. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's that nod to kind of the shift in lifestyle a little bit once we start recovering.
Yeah.
Because we can't always just go back to the way we used to operate before. And there's got to be a bit of a lifestyle shift. And for a lot of people, it is incorporating nervous system regulation throughout their days.
Yeah, and you hear Nicole Sachs, the creator of Journal Speak, talk about you're deciding between what's hard and what's harder. And that's it. Like, some of this is work. And I think, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Like, doing emotional work consistently, most of us, if we could get away with it, we would not be doing that.
Right.
I think there's great benefit to doing that far past you becoming pain or symptom free. And I've experienced that. But yeah, like, we're deciding between what's hard and what's harder sometimes.
Yeah.
And, when the symptom fades, it's easy to slip back. So I'm going to go through what I do, but I want to be so crystal clear that I am not stating this is what you need to do.
No. And I think what we're trying to outline here is this is Tanner's daily map that he uses. Everyone's is going to look a bit different.
Yeah. And you want to be flexible. Like, this is more of a perfect healing day for me that I'm going to explain. But there's some days that I just do nothing. And I hang out and enjoy myself. And that also is the work.
Yes.
But you got to be flexible with this. Don't be perfectionistic-y, intense about it.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing all this stuff out of fear.
And so that's what we also mean then, back to the idea of lifestyle shift, of incorporating this, and it just becomes part of a way of living and being. And it's not about being afraid one way or the other if we stop it.
Yeah, there's going to be work that you have to do, healing work that's unenjoyable. But a lot of the things on this list, I really enjoy doing.
I know you do, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Don't build your... these are my healing practices I'm going to maintain my healing with, and you just hate all of them. That's not going to get you very far.
That's a good point.
Just be cautious around that line.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive in. First, top-down thought work.
Okay, so that means we do want some cognitive kind of work going on. It's not just body work.
Yeah, and, we preface this topic as regulating the nervous system. But, the brain retraining of our thoughts, that does have an impact on our nervous system.
Right.
I don't think it has necessarily the biggest impact from what we now know, but it does have an impact.
Well, what kind of impact do you think it does have then?
Well, you think about if you're walking around and perhaps you're already dysregulated, you're feeling anxious.
Right.
And as we've talked about on this podcast, story follows state. So you're in an anxious state, and what follows is all these fear thoughts, fearful beliefs, all these different things. But the longer you stay in that, it has this feedback loop that's going to start taking place.
Right.
And so for myself, I know I am prone to obsessive thinking, and knows this well, to negative thoughts like worry thoughts, fear thoughts, catastrophizing. And my beliefs, just based off of what I went through in my life, naturally have been slanted towards the negative in the past. So I try to start my day, it's anywhere, it depends on the day, but 10 to 20 minutes. And I like to write it out, I write it on my laptop of, just coming up with more balanced beliefs. Some of this involves some visualization. I'm using all these brain retraining exercises to kind of prime myself first thing in the morning.
Well, and I like that. And I think there's a lot of, influential people that talk about having a good start to your morning and kind of what you want to be thinking or believing to impact the rest of your day.
Yeah, what's the author's name that you're super into?
Sharma, I think Robin Sharma.
Yeah. The 5 a.m. Club.
Yeah.
The whole book on
it's good.
It's good. And super. Me and Anne both do the 5 a.m. Club.
Well,
and actually at 5 a.m. too.
Yeah, it is at 5 a.m. Sometimes I struggle to get there, and then I feel a bit bad because my time runs into my kids. And so when I do get my time, it's super helpful. But yeah, there's like that author also, he like talks about this, how we think about ourselves and how we think about our day makes a big difference. And it's true, actually. We really set ourselves up in terms of what kind of thoughts we're going through our minds.
Yeah, so this top-down thought work, I think, is important. When I was first healing, it was more about my body and my pain and my symptoms.
Yeah.
Now, not so much, obviously, because I feel I have a deep trust in my body in that way. But I'm still trying to prime my day in a certain way to be inspired towards my goals and approach the day with the right set of beliefs that I want.
Well, and I think that's a really good point, Tanner, because it's not necessarily about the pain right now for you, but it's about regulation to kind of, I want to say, like, keep the pain at bay or to keep listening to your body so you're not woken up by pain being like, hello.
Exactly. Yeah. Next, Qigong.
Yes. And I see you doing Qigong very early in the morning, maybe after
my thought work.
Yeah, after your thought work, he's doing Qigong like at, 5:30.
Yeah. I do my thought work, then I'll do my Qigong.
Yeah. Yep.
And, it really depends. If I really get into it, I might do it really long. Like sometimes and again, I like this stuff, so I'm not telling people to do this.
Well, and this is not that I don't like Qigong, but I'm not doing Qigong in the morning, and that's okay. So it's choosing what works for you in terms of tending to your nervous system.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, pick things that you somewhat enjoy, and Qigong's an easy one for me because it's this attention to my body. Sometimes I'm using it to process emotions, dysregulation, but I'm using this somatic movement really to my benefit.
Yes.
And that can range from anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the day. But I know if I can do those two things, like the thought work and the Qigong, like usually I'm feeling much more regulated throughout my day.
Well, and I like your mention of Qigong for you, Tanner, and because of your history with pain and movement, that even though you're not really intensely trying to get exposure work right now or corrective experiences, every time you lean in Qigong, it is a bit of that for you still.
Yeah. And on my YouTube channel, I have, if you're interested in Qigong or you're like, what's Qigong?
Just like that.
Yeah, like I do have videos on my YouTube channel. I think a handful of them that are just like 10 to 20 minute practices that you can check out for free.
Totally. And it's all throughout our course as well.
Yeah.
And you have a group. So Tanner has a lot of Qigong things that he offers.
Yeah. Next, right after my Qigong, I do this. Do you like how I ordered this?
This is his order. Does not have to be your order again.
Yeah, this is like I said, my perfect healing day. But again, there's no perfect healing day because you're going to need different things, different days. But, in a perfect world. Next, cold showers.
I do not do this, and I am not going to try. But I have heard a lot of people speak to the benefits of this.
I just had someone comment on our YouTube channel about how their healing took off when they started to do cold plunges.
Yeah, I've heard this too. I'm just too much of a wuss to want to do it. I like my warm baths more.
You like the soothe. You like the soothing.
Yes, I don't really want it. But I've heard this very much as well.
So I do one in the morning. If I'm working from home, I'll do one in the afternoon real quick.
Yep.
It's a simple way. I find it does consistently make me feel more regulated.
How? Is it just like you feel alive and awake, or what happens?
It's interesting afterwards, and I've used it when feeling really difficult emotions. It instantly activates your parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
And for a lot of people, it'll shift them to that ventral vagal place where they feel safe, calm, connected.
It's weird. You wouldn't think so.
It's interesting because,
imagine
but because it is like, and you're also getting exposure to something unpleasant and you sitting with it.
Okay.
And so there's benefits in both ways.
I see that.
Like usually during it, I'm pretty used to it now, but at first it was very hard and I had to really focus on
it. Sounds hard. Yeah.
But, afterwards I feel quite a bit of calmness kind of wave over me.
Okay. Maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah. Next time you shower, I'm just going to run in and do the thing now.
Oh, man.
I feel like such an awful start to your morning.
Oh, yeah.
I won't do that, I promise.
Okay.
Next, co-regulation in nature.
Yes, this is something that I like to do. So I like to do this with my horse, Casper.
Yeah. We're about to go visit Casper right after this.
Yeah. Well, there's something about being in a nature setting. There's something about being around animals for me that always kind of helps shift me to feel a bit more regulated and safe.
Yeah. So for myself, I don't have a horse. I'm not going
Maybe
to
one day. I'm working on him. Right now, he's petting Casper's nose over the fence because Tanner's a bit afraid of horses.
I'm scared of horses.
We're doing slow exposure.
Horses aren't the good therapy animal for me, but I do go out every morning with our dog, Darla.
Yes.
She's super stoked.
Yes.
Right in the morning, and we do that. And it's one of those things that we have to walk our dog. I do it out in nature. It's very calming, regulating for me. I find there's a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean is some of these are more these strict strategies and some are things that you can just do while living your life.
Yep.
That you enjoy doing. And so that's an easy way to do this. Now, the next thing that we've already mentioned, and this is probably the one that I focus on the most because I know myself well, is tracking my old coping mechanisms.
Like tracking, you mean like watching out for or paying attention?
Throughout my day, I'm being very aware because I can be people-pleasing.
Yeah.
And I can be perfectionistic. And these are slippery slopes. And in the past, they would occur and then would occur for a week, 2 weeks, a month before I knew what was taking place.
That's so funny because I don't know which episodes we've talked about this, but we've talked about this in terms of our relationship. How Tanner just wouldn't be honest with me out of people pleasing sometimes. Yeah. And then 2 months down the road, I'll find out he doesn't want to do something or hates something. And I'll be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've gotten much better at that.
I've gotten better.
Yeah.
The people-pleasing for myself has improved a lot more compared to the perfectionism. The perfectionism still has improved, definitely compared to many years ago. But it's the one that I find, especially with running 2 companies, it's such an easy thing to fall into. And so again, this isn't excessive work I'm putting in, but I am keeping track of my own body, of my own nervous system, and my behaviors.
Well, and I like this because it's okay, you've been out of pain for a long time, you've been doing this work for a long time, but you still know kind of where your 2 main struggles are, and you're kind of watching out for them still. And so it's we still got to keep an eye out on and kind of keeping ourselves in check a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and this could be a whole episode on what are your triggers for your symptoms typically?
Yes.
Because I know my triggers.
Yeah.
8 or 9 times out of 10, it's perfectionism and pressure, without a doubt. And so as a result, the way I maintain my healing is based on that to some degree.
Right.
Next, lunchtime yoga.
And again, I don't do lunchtime yoga.
Yeah, I've tried.
I feel like
I think you'd like it.
I feel like I should be doing a bit more of these things now, and then I'm I don't do that and that and that. But I do some things here.
Dude.
But I think that is, again, a point that my things are different than yours.
They are. And, one thing that you have that I very much struggle with is, for example, if a client will cancel on Anne, and then Anne's like, I have 3 hours in the afternoon. And what does Anne do? She goes and naps. She has a nap, drinks her tea, takes it easy.
Yeah.
For myself.
I'm I make the most of that time.
I know. I get cancellations. I'm like, I can finish all this other work I got to do.
This makes me sound a bit bad.
Yeah, no,
it just makes me sound like a lazy employee.
No, I'm jealous of that trait, and I take advantage of it too.
I do work in that time, Tanner.
I have never once said that you're not working.
You're saying I am doing work.
I know,
but yeah, I'm more open to kind of if I get the time, honoring my need to kind of rest or relax.
Yeah.
And Tanner, I do know you're right. Like that is something that's hard for you.
Yeah. And it's gotten better over the years. I've gotten better being in a state of rest and stillness. But it needs to be a bit more intentional for me. Whereas I watch you, it's like so flawless and just flows in. And I'm like, how does that happen?
Again, I feel like this is making this slanted on not looking so good for me.
No, people are listening to this, Anne, and they're jealous right now because it's a hard thing to do. Like I have to be so intentional about some of that. So again, my personal struggles. But we were talking about lunchtime yoga. How did we get into that? We're all over the place today.
Oh, because I said I don't do.
Oh, you don't do yoga?
Because I nap, I guess.
So this is how I exercise. It's more of like it's not a super relaxed yoga. It's more of like a power yoga. But I do I'm really grateful for the fact that I can use my body. I know people listening maybe don't have that yet.
Right.
And I do wish that for everyone.
Yeah.
But I do take advantage of that. Exercise, moving my body, like being connected in that way. I find it very meaningful and very helpful for my healing overall. I know for myself, if I don't get some exercise each day, I get dysregulated really quick.
Yeah.
So it's something that can be really on the top of my priority list. Next, cuddles and playtime.
Yeah, and play is huge, and that can again look different for everybody.
Yeah, we have young kids, so that's mainly what it looks. Kids are great. They just like always want to play in that way.
They do.
They're stokes.
Yes.
It's like instantly when my son comes home and he's like climbing on me and I'm ready to go. But this is how you like build in some of this work into your life. This is not something that I'm consciously thinking of. It's just something that I know I desire and can work with. And so each night, like I definitely spend some time playing with my kids, whatever it is. And then there's like cuddling on the couch watching a movie.
Totally. And that's that like co-regulation, kind of connection piece.
Yeah. Next, kids go to bed. And this is usually when I'll take 20-ish minutes to do some type of emotional processing and breath work.
And he is very consistent about this. Like I have to vouch for you. That's right. The kids go to bed. He goes and does his breath work.
Yeah, this one I'm the most consistent with. I find for myself personally, like I don't do the emotional work in the morning because I usually feel pretty good in the morning. But by the end of the day, like stressors, different things have happened that I do need to do some of that work with.
Yeah.
For myself, I know lots of people do journaling, but it is more of a somatic approach. And that's really what we use with our clients and in our course as well. So that was a lot of different things. Again, be flexible. Some things are going to be hard no matter what, but some things can be really easy.
Yep.
Playtime and cuddles, really easy. Not hard to get into that. It's just like, like you don't want to hate all the healing work you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, if you're listening to this and you're just starting to build this healing practice, like start small. This was built over many years for me. This wasn't like I woke up one day and decided I'm going to do all these things.
Right.
Like it starts small. So the task that we want to give everyone is pick one small thing you can start adding to your day to regulate your nervous system and maintain your healing.
Totally. And try it out. And then be consistent with it. So it's like, I'm not just going to do it once. And it's like, try it out every day for a week and then make a decision about it.
Yeah, it reminds me of, when I was getting trained as a therapist at the supervisor. And one thing she said to me that was so, and I say it to my clients all the time, is if you go and try a strategy and you only do it for 1 or 2 days, you are never going to know if that strategy actually works.
Yes.
We don't want to be too intense, but you need to do something for 2 or 3 weeks and then notice, like, has this had a positive effect?
Right. So give it, like, try it on for a little while.
Yes.
And then see what that's like for you.
Yeah, and if it doesn't fit, move on to something else.
Yeah, like you don't have to do those cold plunges.
Yeah, and I don't have to go hang out with horses.
Which you're doing tonight, though.
Oh, I am doing that tonight.
Yeah.
I'm staying behind the fence. I'm hiding behind the fence.
Okay.
So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. For more free content, check out the links for our YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook accounts in the episode description.
We wish you all healing.